Hello, investors. Welcome to another edition of 18 Minutes with 180 Markets. Friends, we all know ESG is a structural thematic change. And with that change and any major change, there are so many different ways to invest and make money. And not only that, in the case with ESG investments, we also know that we can do good and make a profit at the same time. And we have with us a company today that you may not know, Latrobe Magnesium, and their managing director, David Paterson. And David is going to talk all about the magnesium market, how you may not know it as an ESG play, but how it is incredibly in demand and how Latrobe is poised to take advantage of it. And with that introduction, David, welcome to 18 Minutes with 180 Markets.
Hey, Greg.
Hey, David, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
So, myself and my co-founder, if you like, initially came together. I come from a finance background and he came from an engineering background. He used to run a company that was a medium-sized ASX listed company that had a magnesite mine. So he used to burn magnesium for BHP, which you line kilns with in the steel business. So that was 60% of his market. While he was there, what happened is that Toyota came along to him and asked him if they could start making magnesium metal because they saw it as the future. So we tendered actually on the Hazelwood fly ash with 3 other parties, and we were lucky to win that. We won that primarily because of his experience after going through a whole magnesium metal feasibility study with Toyota, and my experience because we knew a lot of people in Europe that were looking to source magnesium.
Excellent. You mentioned magnesium, Toyota. Can you just tell us a little bit about the uses of magnesium and what makes it such a special material?
Yeah, well, it's shifted, and the main shift is with magnesium is today it's 37% is used in die casting in the automobile industry, and when I say die casting, that also incorporates the use in aluminium sheet. So magnesium is used in an alloy 1 to 6% in making aluminium sheet, and that's revolutionized the mag business because the aluminium sheets started making 2 meter wide panels. You need to make a 2 meter wide panel for a panel in the car. They can then recycle the whole panel. So instead of making steel and having other issues, it makes it lighter, stronger, faster, goes further, less CO2 emissions, so just with adding that 6% of mag. So because mag is lighter than steel, it's 25% of the weight of steel and a third lighter than aluminium, but stronger.
Excellent. And so it's fair to say that anything that is lighter, stronger, with lower emissions is certainly going to be a positive, number one. And number two, would you say that you're obviously at the face of the magnesium markets? Would you say that demand is always there?
Yeah, it's the reason why demand's there for Western producers is there are very few Western producers. So you have 85% in China, and now everyone in the West has moved to the processing, and then they've retooled all the OEM plants to look after aluminium sheet. They're locked into a mag produced aluminium sheet. So there's only, it's a critical raw material in Australia, USA, Japan, EU. Producer-wise, in the West, there's only one producer in USA, no producers in Japan, no producers in the EU. So you've got this critical raw material that's in use, and is with the aluminium sheet business, just getting pulled along by them will double the size. That's in their numbers, not our numbers. That will double the size from 1 million to 2 million. So that's before you look at any other alternative uses, of which there are a lot, for magnesium to make things lighter.
Right. So when you look at it, the supply ex-China for magnesium is extremely tight. And maybe that's a good segue into Latrobe and to your particular project. Can you just talk about the Latrobe Magnesium project, please?
Yeah. So we started quite a while ago because we're very conservative in what we do. We use the best people, we believe, in Australia, CSIROs of the world, ALS in the laboratories, they do all our work. What we do is we take the fly ash, which is a waste that comes out of the back end of a power station, the brown coal power station in the valley, and we recycle that using our hydromet technology, and we make a number of products. So we make magnesium, which is roughly around 10% of the fly ash. We make what we call a supplementary cement material, which is the same as a Portland cement. So it's a Portland cement substitute, and it doesn't have CO2 emissions in it. So all of a sudden you blend it with Portland cement and you get a great product and a reduced emissions in the cement. So once again, a green aspect. And we make, depending on the fly ash, we can make up to 3 or 4 other products. All saleable, so it's 100% renewable. It's great for the community because it's environmentally friendly. We're getting rid of the fly ash. The fly ash is a very fine dust. And what can happen is you can get things that has silica in it, so you can get silicosis. You can, if it gets airborne. So you've got to make sure you keep it damp. And if the ash dams dry out, it can get airborne. So it's a potential danger. And the other thing is, of course, if it breaks, if one of these ash dams break, then there's nothing. A lot of people have a misnomer that there's nuclear waste in the fly ash and what have you. We hear this from people even overseas. They have the same. There isn't any. We've actually analysed it to death. And but what is the problem is because it's dust, it's very fine. If it gets into the water system, it'll sit on top and lie on the top of the water. So what that does, it won't allow the oxygen to get through the fish or the plant life, and you'll kill off all the fish in the plant life. So it's opportune to remove it. That's what we do. We create jobs for the community as well. So it's a great all-round win-win, what we think, for the community, especially the Latrobe Valley.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And of course, you're being in Australia, you're going to have to operate at the world's highest standards. Can you just tell us also the state of the project? Where are we at right now? And ideally, what would you like to see? Like, what would be the size of the project optimally over time?
So where we are at the moment is we're looking to build a 3,000-ton plant. We're looking we're doing the design and engineering work so we can tender the major packages. We have tendered the largest package. It's about 30% of our capital and the longest lead time item. That's all been done internationally through COVID. And then we're kicking off. Well, we're doing on-site works as soon as Melbourne gets lifted, and they were ready to go as of this week, but that will be delayed. And then once we issue those packages, come January, we'll be starting serious work on site. We'll be should be up and operational after commissioning the plant next year by December 22. Commissioning, allowing a 3-month commissioning period in that. So it's really about a 12-month turnaround from once we've got all the packages design work done. We have a number of opportunities. We have in the valley itself, we've talked about 40,000 tonnes per annum for 20 years. A size plant. I mean, that's a good size plant in the magnesium business. We're the 2nd or 3rd largest plant in the world at that level. It's a good size and easy to get markets. As we talked earlier, the demand for magnesium from the Western world is very strong, just to ensure that there's regular supply, diversification of supply from the Chinese producers, which is required worldwide.
Yeah, it's incredible numbers. So 40,000 tons, potentially 20 years going. When you think about the big picture, whether we're delayed a few months or not from COVID, it really doesn't change the structural positive dynamics and just the sheer size of the Latrobe project. Isn't that accurate?
Yeah. The real test is let's get our little 3,000 tonner up and working and operating to where we think it will be. And as I said, we use the we think the best players in Australia to advise us on that, and have for many years, not just over the last 12 months. And then there's a number of opportunities offshore, which we've identified and spoken to people about. So we'll just pick the best. Some of them will come with a joint venture partner, others don't. So there's a whole array, and in every one of those discussions we talk about, we also talk about a sizable royalty that we will recoup from our hydromet process that they need to be able to perform.
Yeah. You know, Dave, one of the things that we always talk about at 180 is supply and demand, and that you want to be in a commodity where there is constant demand. And that is certainly where you are. Hey, David, unfortunately, we have to keep these interviews short. Do you have any closing remarks for the audience?
Well, it's interesting because, I mean, it's a different investment for a lot of people because they don't know a lot about the magnesium industry, and we're starting to try and talk about that so people can understand it and understand where it's going. Because, as you just mentioned, Greg, I mean, the demand outstrips the supply. I mean, China can bring on cheaper supply, but the trouble with that is the CO2 emissions, and at the moment they can't get over that hurdle. So we think it's new supply has to be brought on with also relied on reduced CO2 emissions. That's what we do, and we'd like to even reduce that further by use of renewables, so we get down to a zero emission base.
Yeah, and you know, in summation, you have a product that is clearly in demand. You're making it in what I'd call the right way. Those are structural positives that are not going away. David, thank you so much, and we definitely look forward to sharing the journey with you.
Thanks, Greg.